Good evening, everybody, and welcome for the final time in 2023. I welcome you to SKR on a Sunday night for the finale of Season 5 and the finale of 2023. We are at the Albert Park circuit, situated in Melbourne, for this finale, a 5.3 kilometer circuit. Not considered a short track and not considered a long track. It's right in the middle. Just the 15 drivers tonight. Please do let me know how do things sound. I'm not commentating from my usual commentary box. Doing this remotely, so just let me know if everything sounds okay. Obviously we're into qualifying, just the one qualifying session. The short quali session is what applies here. We have no full qualifying, just the 18 minutes. That's what you're given. 18 minutes that will give you, if you use your time correctly, approximately 3 runs, an out lap, fast lap and an in lap. And we know that, like at most circuits, but in Albert Park in particular, very easy to invalidate a lap. Got to keep that in mind. Like I said, you just get those 3 runs. It's so easy to mess up 1 or 2 of those runs with an invalidated lap, and then give yourself everything to do at the end. As you can see, a whole bunch of cars out on out laps. A very populated track. And in about a minute and a half from now, we're going to have a very different looking timesheet. Welcome to Death Queen in the comment section again. One of our return viewers that has been with us throughout Season 5, and I'm sure before Season 5. But my journey here at SKR only began at the beginning of this season. So far, no times on the board. There we go. As I say that, Afro goes over the line. Does a 121.4. Wonder if he's going to be the class of the field yet again, as he has been in most of the rounds this season. This is Virus. He's just gone fastest in Sector 2. So he is on the move. This is going to be a quick lap time. Just the one driver to have set a lap time so far. That is the Season 5 Championship winner of Afro. He is also the only Red Bull here tonight. Red Bull having wrapped up that Constructors' Championship quite some time ago. Virus goes P2 with a 1:19.0, but crucially that is 9/10 of a second. Away from provisional pole, Ulrich took provisional pole ever so briefly. He took a 1:18.1, and now he's been beaten by Venom. Venom drops into the 17s. It's a 17.9. Time's really close at the top. Just 0.2 of a second. Cover your top 3. Here we've got a Ferrari, I believe that is Disguise. I think he wasn't quite sure. Does he come into the pits or does he not come into the pits? And he just sort of got stuck in between the decision and drove into the pit wall. But he has come in and will repair that damage and hope to get out there as soon as possible. So a few people are watching. If you have just joined us, it's just a reminder that this is the finale, round 10 of season 5. One last meeting, one last race in 2023. The winding down of what has been a fantastic season. It's not going to be a championship decider. Championship was decided some time ago. Constructors was decided some time ago. This race is really just about the pride. This is the Williams of Dixie Killer. Looking for his first time lap of the evening. No lap time from him. Still waiting for lap times from 5 drivers. Only 10 of the 15 drivers have set a lap time. Also, as a result of this being the finale, this channel may be quiet for a few weeks. So if you haven't subscribed, remember to subscribe, and you can hit that bell icon as well, and it will give you a notification every single time we go live. So next time there's a driver draw, or next time there's a race of any sort, or anything that gets broadcast on this channel, you will get a notification. And you won't miss any of our future meetings. Dixie Killer, we said he hadn't set a lap time yet. He has been able to set that first lap time of the evening. It's a 1:20.0. Not exactly where he'd like to be. He'll be looking to bring that time down. His teammate just ahead of him in P8 now, 1:18.8. 2/10, make it 1.2 seconds, cover the 2 Williams. But for now, we saw it earlier, the only car to dip into the 17s. And he's still the only car in the 17s. Nobody else has been able to do it. He's on an outlap. He's just weaving around, getting all the temperature he can into those tires, getting the brakes up to temperature, trying to get that car into optimal condition before it gets into turn 1. These are the things one has to do when you're squeezing out every single last thousandth you can find. You have to do the weaving around. You have to warm up the tires, warm up the brakes, make sure that everything is just right. And then the most important part comes in. It's you. You need to make sure the lap is just right. 2 aspects of that. Get the car ready. Get yourself ready. The car's not ready. Not going to do the lap time. And if you make a mistake, well, you're not going to get the lap time either. Here we have your provisional pole sitter as he heads off into Sector 1, looking to improve on his previous best. Remember, the only driver in the 117s and only just a 117.9. He's going to go through Sector 1 any moment now, and we'll see what he's been able to come up with in this first part of the track. It's gone slightly slower than his previous best, but just 400ths, nothing in it really. He'll know more. He'll know if there's more in this lap time. He'll remember that previous lap time, and he'll know exactly what he did wrong on that previous lap time. Afro now disqualified from the session. Not entirely sure what he may have done, but he's been disqualified from the session, and DSQ is not the same as a DNF. The DSQ means you're going all the way to the bottom of the grid regardless of if you've posted a lap time or not. So your Season 5 championship winner will be starting from the back row of the grid. Venom 117.939 does not improve. Tell you who did improve. Ulrich improved 117.945. Misses out by 6,000ths of a second, and what a front row to have. Pantry Star goes around the final corner over the start finish line to start what will be another timed attempt by the man in P3. Ooh, and I think, is he backing off? Yeah, I think he's backing off. Just as a bit of reference, the man in third is 1/10 away from pole position. This is the top of your two Williams drivers, and he also appears to be on an in-lap. Just looking for some action out on track. We focus on Apmagozi, but just for a moment, because he heads into the pits as well. The Skies, we saw him have an issue earlier on where he actually hit the pit entry, but luckily for him it was not a fatal incident. He was able to hold on to all the wheels of the car. You can lose all the wings you want, but once that wheel falls off, it's really all over. The Skies also seems to be on an in-lap, Harsh Cartoon on an out-lap. We know Pantry Star was on an attempt, but he gave up on that attempt pretty early on in the lap. Now it's going to be interesting to see, does he go around on this same set of tyres, do another lap, or does he dive into the pits? He does. He dives into the pits. I think with a 1:18.0, I think with the margins this tight, a second go on used rubber isn't going to be enough. Needs to get the fresh rubber on, get the fresh shoes on, and have another go. Mr. Rem, he's on an outlap, getting out of the way of his teammate. Ultra Gamer currently in P9, 1:18.6, looking to improve. Currently 4/10 of a second behind his teammate. Really close in the middle order. Very close in the middle order. The top 10 covered by just 8/10 of a second. The only man left out on track yet to set a lap time is the second Alpine, his teammate up in provisional pole with a 1:17.9. That second Alpine is Harsh Cartoon, currently P14. The only driver behind him is your Season 5 championship winner Afro. He will be starting from the final result of his DSQ. Ulrich is on an outlap, Mr. Rem is on an outlap. I believe these runs we see now will be your final run of the evening. Harsh Cartoon just taking it slow, working up what appears to be, I think this was a fast lap, then he just gave up on it. And here we go, he's going to get ready as he winds up for what could be his final attempt. Goes over the start finish line now, and let's follow this lap. Heads into turn 1, takes just enough curb, uses all of the racetrack on the outside, very nicely done. We had a yellow flag ever so briefly. Don't see what that's all about, don't see any stationary car. Probably wanted to get closer to that apex. Now we head into the new part of the racetrack. So much quicker, so much more flowing. Never a big fan of Albert Park, driving it anyway, but this new section has definitely, in my opinion, improved the circuit. Alpine driver Harsh Cartoon looking to get that lap time on your timing screens. He's been obviously having struggles up until this point, hasn't been able to put a lap time down, but I think this will be the one. Stays out of the pits. And I think he's backed off. Yeah, he's backed off over the line. He's not going to set a lap time. Provisional pole sitter is on an out lap. Provisional P2 on a fast lap. Provisional P3 on a fast lap. All to play for. Harsh Cartoon picks up a 5 grid place penalty. That's not going to hurt him too much if he finishes in last. But some strange penalties and DSQs being thrown out in the final qualifying session of the season. See if Ulrich is able to improve on his previous best. He's going to need just half a tenth, and it's going to be enough to put him onto pole position. He has gone fastest, and he's got more than half a tenth he needed. He's taken a bit of a bite out of it. Goes through with a 1:17.7. Now Pantry Star currently P3. Let's see if he can improve. Previous best a 1:18 flat. Does not improve. I think he gave up on that lap. His charge was pretty high as he went over the start finish line. Now this man who's held provisional pole since his first timed lap of the evening. He lost that provisional pole moments ago, and now he's trying to take it back. 10th slower than his previous best in Sector 2, so he's got a lot of time to find here in Sector 3. The driver in the cockpit will know if there's time in Sector 3. He'll know if he missed a braking point. He'll know if he missed an apex. If he missed anything at all, he'll know all about it, and he'll be concentrating on that one corner going into Sector 3. The checkered flag has fallen. Let's see what Venom is able to do as he goes over the line. Is he going to stay P2? Is he going to steal P1? He stays P2. Now Pantry Star getting all sorts of traffic on his final run. Those two cars dive into the pits, but I don't think he's going to improve, and he dives into the pits as well. So your top three will remain in that order. I think Chums is backing off his lap time. He was in P4. Let's have a look at Andre, currently P5, 1:18.2. Is he able to improve his position? Maybe onto the second row. Yes, he does. Front of the second row, 1:18 flat. Another car, last car looking to improve. It's Fricky, Mercedes-Benz, currently P7, 1:18.2. Ooh, runs wide and loses it. Loses it over the line right at the end. It's not going to make too much of a difference. He's still going to be able to finish in P7. And just take a look at those lap times. A second covers your top 10. But in the middle there, top 7 positions, just covered by half a second. Checkered flag has fallen. And now we just await the remainder of the time to run out, and there we go. We'll get our official results shortly. And there we go, there are your official results for qualifying. Round 10 of Season 5, Ulrich takes pole position for Albert Park, a 117.7. Then Venom was in provisional pole for most of the evening, right until the end there. He goes P2. Then Andre steals the front of the second row right at the end. Pantry Star P4, Chums P5, Mr. Rem P6, Fricky P7, Virus P8, Ultra Gamer P9, and Top Gun in P10. Outside the top 10, Dixie Killer P11, Apmagozi P12, Disguise P13, and Harsh Cartoon with a 5-second penalty starting P14. And your Season 5 Championship winner starts from the back of the field. Do feel that DSQ may have been a suspicious one. Maybe the championship winner just wanting to give himself an extra challenge tonight. We are looking at the empty pit lane of Albert Park. And the reason for that is just a reminder, a 5-minute break in between the end of qualifying and the start of the race, just to allow drivers to make sure they have their correct strategy for the race, correct tire compound, correct fuel level, whatever the case may be, or even just grab a drink. I'll be back in just a minute. Good, and we're back. We'll see Albert Park being used as a finale tonight, not its usual place on the calendar. For a very long time, it's been known as the season opener since 1996, if I'm not mistaken. 1996 was the first time the Australian Grand Prix was held here in Albert Park, and the first time it was the season opener. Up until that time, very different circuit. We did have an Australian Grand Prix, but it was a very different affair. It was the final race of the season. It was not at a track anything like Albert Park. It was at the Adelaide Street Circuit. Another interesting fact, speaking of street circuits, when it comes to Albert Park is a partial street circuit. Which means during the year, there are parts of this track which are accessible to everyday traffic, There are parts that are closed off to the public, but it is a partial street circuit and a partial permanent circuit. And if rumours about the Spanish Grand Prix are to be believed, we could have a similar scenario to Albert Park happening in Madrid, where a partial street circuit will meet a permanent complex, and from 2026 that new circuit could take over from Catalonia. I have no problem with new tracks joining the calendar. I just sort of wish they stop replacing the classics. If you want to bring in a Baku type circuit, don't cancel the classic circuit. Maybe just cancel Baku. Remember that we did have a very tight qualifying session, and this is going to be a very interesting turn one and a very interesting opening number of laps. Remember that your Season 5 championship winner will be starting from the back of the field. Prior to his disqualification, he had a lap time that would have been at least good enough for the front of the second row. But with that DSQ, he's given himself quite the challenge. There we go, finally, the red lights. And they're off and we're away. There we go, and we get our possible race strategies right at the start of the race. That's when I don't want extra graphics on my screen. And we head off into turn one. It looks like Alpine from Alfa Romeo, from McLaren. We have a Williams off in the background, but he's regained his position on the tarmac. It's Venom from Ulrich, from Andre, Pantry Star P3, Chums P4, Fricky P6. Then we have the pair of Haas drivers, Mr. Rem, Ultra Gamer, and it appears we're on the safety car, folks. There we go, safety car is official. We have it on our screen, safety car on lap 1. I don't see any stationary cars on the grid. There we go, we have a retirement. It's going to be the only Ferrari representative on the evening. Disguise, he has DNF'd from the event, leaving 14 drivers and leaving us with a safety car on lap 1 of 29. Can obviously take this opportunity at the end of season 5 to thank our sponsors that have some of them have been with SKR throughout the season, some have joined a little later on throughout the season, but we look forward to continuing our partnership with our sponsors into Season 6 and beyond. Those sponsors obviously G4 Sim, Work Group South Africa and LMT Accounting. And a little bit later on we'll get into what they do. As for now, race is neutralized. Venom leads the way from Ulrich, Andre P3, Pantry P4 and Chums making up the top 5. Well, remember, your championship winner started from the back of the field, and I wonder if he was involved in some way in that incident, or if the incident just impacted negatively on his race. Because let me just get some confirmation if he made a pit stop. He did make a pit stop, as did Dixie Killer, so I presume those two cars had some sort of an incident, lost a wing maybe, had to rejoin. Luckily it was all under safety car. Afro can catch up to the back of the field and try all of this again. We've just brought up the tyre screen to have a look at who's doing what. And as you can see, your leader, Venom, he's on a set of softs. And these conditions will not be ideal to anyone who starts on softs. Obviously, the entire point of starting on softs is to get that much better pull away as you get better traction off the soft compound. And hopefully, if the cars behind you are on a harder compound, your job in that first stint is to either get into the lead, or if you're already in the lead, get as far away from the rest of the pack as possible, because you're going to be the first car to pit. But this safety car, it's not allowing him to do that, sort of neutralizing the advantage of having a set of softs on in the early laps. And what we could see is some of the peak grip of those softs simply being wasted under a safety car. When the safety car does go into the pits and these cars are back underway, you might find that the guys on softs can only do a few more laps, and that'll bring everyone on mediums into this race. Just this driver here in the Williams, one driver, the only driver in the entire field to go on a set of hards. Just another car that was affected by the incident on lap 1, chose to come into the pits, put on a set of hards. He's obviously going to go as late into this race as possible, put on a soft compound at the end maybe. We'll ride with your leader. Let's ride with P2. So we can have a good look. When is Venom going to go? Safety car. Where is the safety car? Surely he's going to come in. Yes, he does. There we go. You got to wait for Venom to take off. Remember, no overtaking till the start-finish line. But this is a good start by Ulrich. Thought he was going to go for it into turn 1, but he thought better of it. Venom, Ulrich, Andre, Pantry Star, Fricky, your top 5, remain your top 5 in that order. Now Chums going side by side with the who's that? Mrs. the Williams going side by side with the Haas, keeping his position. The two Haas drivers staying P7 and P8. Second Mercedes of Virus follows in P9. Top Gun makes up the top 10. Afro, we're going to keep our eyes on him. Suspect he will come through the field. We saw a lot of pace from him in qualifying. Know what he can do. Ooh, looks for the pass, goes around the outside onto the dirty part of the track. And almost lost the back end there. It's going to want to come through the field. But if you get too reckless, if you get too greedy, a mistake is always possible, even for the champion. But this time gets on the inside. And no real fight there from the AlphaTauri. Wonder if Christian Horner just took a walk down the pit lane, stood at the front of the AlphaTauri garage and screamed, "What the bleep do you think you're doing?" Venom leads the way, Ulrich P2, Andre still P3. That order remains the same. Pantry Star P4, Fricky P5. Oh, change at the front. Then your next best. You've got Ultra Gamer P6. His teammate follows in P7. Remember the driver to keep your eyes on. Just outside the top 10 now. Afro, he's made his way up into P11. Got past Dixakiller, got past Harsh Cartoon and Ap Magozi. And now his next target will be the Williams driver of Chums. And then your Season 5 champion will be into the top 10. These guys at the front, they'll know that Afro is making his way through the field, and they need to make up as much distance as they possibly can before he gets up there. Another thing to note on this racetrack, we saw examples of it in qualifying, is if you're just going to go over those white lines a few times, you're going to start getting the warnings. After 3 warnings, you get a 3-second penalty. And we know that when those 3-second penalties start to ramp up, and I shouldn't have said it because a commentator's curse definitely does exist. Harsh Cartoon picks up the first 3-second penalty of the evening. That's obviously for track limits. Remember, as I said, those can quickly rack up. And if you get a safety car late on in the race that brings the field together, that penalty could send you straight out of the points or to the back of the field. There's an incident, a big incident. We just saw the Haas falling down the field, went back to the Haas to try and have a look at what was going on, and we saw a bunch of cars going sideways, and there we go. We actually got a good view of that one. But Afro now going sideways, and that is definitely going to alter his potential trip through the field. Ulrich still leads. Andre gets past Venom, and Andre goes up into P2. We have a caution. Don't see anything on the track right now. But remember, we had a bit of havoc at the back of the field. Let's just have a look at these cars to see if any of them have damage. Chums seems to have all his end plates intact, as does Pantry Star. Remember, he was in a very strong position earlier on in this race, now doing everything he can to hold on to 10th place. As Afro, very nicely done, sees the top 10 for the first time in this race. Does he have all his end plates? Yes, he does. So it looked like quite a mess at the back of the field, but looks like everybody's been able to hang on to all of their car parts. No damage that I can see, even Dixie Killer at the back of the field. Everyone's car appears to be intact. Andre leads the race now for McLaren. 3-second penalty now for Venom. These penalties will play a big part at the end of the race. Another set of penalties we haven't even seen yet is when the pit windows come into play. Some guys just trying to make up all the time they can make going into that pit stop. Take it a little too far. And that's going to be an immediate 5-second penalty. As for the Red Bull, said we'd keep our eyes on him. It's up to P7. Next target in front of him is Top Gun. But at the front, Andre not really able to get away from Ulrich. Ulrich staying with him, staying within DRS, just 1/10 of a second, covers the leaders. Ricky has fallen off these two. And the McLaren defends. Very nicely done by the two leaders. Last thing you want to have is contact at this stage of the race. So Ulrich's just waiting for the right time, picking his moment. Doesn't want to take an unnecessary risk. So he's just going to apply the pressure. And now he might have it. Fantastic. Is everything okay with the McLaren? Seems like he's just dropped back extremely, 1.5 seconds adrift. Just got past moments ago and the gap's already 1.5 seconds. So he must have had a bit of a moment that we didn't notice. And that's actually allowed Fricky, who was seeming to have fallen off those top two. He's actually in the DRS of the McLaren. And that should tow him around just enough. Give him just enough advantage to be able to hang on to that McLaren. Should get DRS now, he does. Gap is 8/10. So he's not going to be near close enough this time around. Going to have to wait another lap. Let's check the progress of the Red Bull. P7. A few laps ago we said his next target would be Top Gun. Top Gun was 1.5 seconds up the road, but now Top Gun is within DRS range. Everyone in front will be cheering that Aston Martin driver to hold Afro back as long as possible. And as I say, that Afro has got past the Aston Martin. Afro up into P6. Remember, the McLaren and the Alfa Romeo looked like they were just starting to run away with this a little bit. And then the two of them squabbled over the lead. And that has now allowed Fricky to come back into this race somewhat. Still doesn't appear to have the pace of the top two. But if he stays consistent and the top two continue battling each other, could fall into the hands of Mercedes. And remember, the more those top two battle, the more this man here will take advantage of it. Currently P6, 1.1 seconds away from Virus. Will soon be in the DRS of that Mercedes and he'll be hassling the top five. Here is Virus, and he's going to start seeing the Red Bull colours in his mirrors. He's going to know who it is. There's just one Red Bull on track tonight. There's your season 5 champion. He's going to know who it is. He's going to know if he's going to hold on to that P5. He's going to have to come up with some pretty amazing defensive driving. Problem with these modern Formula 1 cars, doesn't really matter if you're the best defensive driver of all time. DRS exists. Ultra Gamer picks up a 3-second time penalty. It was actually a race in the late 80s. If I'm not mistaken, it was Argentina. I think it was Argentina, but I'm not entirely sure. But there was a race basically where Ayrton Senna, amazing defensive drive, kept Nigel Mansell behind him in a much faster car for an excess of 40 laps. That is something that would be simply impossible in modern Formula 1 cars. To defend from a car faster than you for 40 laps. So in certain aspects, DRS does take away from the driving, take away the difficultness from the overtaking. But in other ways, it makes things more exciting, because that's what people want to see. They want to see overtakes, they want to see excitement on the circuit. And with these cars being so big and so heavy, you're going to have to build assists into the car that are going to make those overtakes happen. Getting very close to the outside of the line there, Fricky. I think we're going to see a lot of penalties before this race is over. Let's have a look at that penalty screen. It's a 3-second time penalty for Ultra Gamer, a 3-second time penalty for Harsh Cartoon, then a 6-second time penalty already for Dixie Killer. We're not at the halfway point yet. And then the most penalties on the night. Man who was in the lead of this race, Venom, 8 seconds. That is a 3-second time penalty, and what I assume is some form of pit infringement. Had a very eventful start to the race. Remember, a safety car on lap 1. Since then, things have settled down. Bantry Star was inside the top 4 for quite some time. He has since dropped towards the back of the field. Venom was in the lead for quite some time, and he has since dropped towards the back of the field. But Ulrich, Andre and Fricky, they have remained in that top 5 throughout. But now a man on the move. You can see the gap falling. Look at that timing screen. It's literally just peeling off 2.6, 2.5. The gap gets smaller. The driver in front of him will be looking at that gap and he'll see it peeling off. It's just the most frustrating feeling in the world. When you're giving it everything, feels like you're on the absolute edge. Couldn't be doing anything more. Then you look at the timing screen and the guy behind you, he's just quicker. It's getting closer and closer, and you feel like there's nothing you can do. Start taking even more risks, and all that does is let him catch you faster. Leader comes into the pits. Ulrich, first one to react. Andre stays out. Let's bring up the tyre situation. Just have a look at that. They were both on mediums, so it was not a compound difference. Ulrich was just the first to react. He has gone onto a set of hards, and he's on his way back out. That'll have promoted old Afro up into the top 3 for the first time in this race. Remember, he started right from the back. He's going to look for fastest lap as well as driver of the day. Because why not? Currently, he is your driver of the day. Fricky P2, not really able to stay with this man here. That's going to be interesting. What does the McLaren do? Does the McLaren respond straight away to Ulrich? Does he stay out for another lap? Does he feel he still has speed in those mediums? He may want to respond immediately and defend from the possible undercut. We'll find out shortly. He stays out. He stays out for another lap. And now Fricky. Fricky responds. Fricky comes into the pits on a 14 old lap set of mediums. Afro stays out, gets promoted now into P2. Gap between Andre and Afro is 3.9 seconds. Top Gun P3. Those cars have not pit. Then Ulrich, Fricky, Ultra Gamer, all these cars have pit. They've come out on a fresh set of hards. Venom, he's going to be slightly out of sync with the rest of these guys because he made an early pit stop. So he's got mediums on, but they're only 6 laps old. But this driver here, this was the first driver to respond. Ulrich came in early, went onto the hards. I thought the McLaren would respond immediately. He did not, stayed out for another lap. But McLaren is now in sector 3. Let's see, what does he do? Does he dive into the pits? He'll start to see in the distance, he'll see that Red Bull. Stays out another lap. What does the Red Bull do? Stays out another lap. Ulrich playing a very different game to the other drivers. Now I wonder if these drivers on mediums that haven't pit, is it possible that they're stretching these tyres as much as possible, take them up to 19 or 20 laps, and then finish this race on a fresh set of softs? Could be possible that Ulrich didn't have any more softs. Remember, he started this race. No, he didn't. That was Venom. Wonder if he just used all his softs up in qualifying, didn't have a fresh set. But he's chosen to finish on the hards on a longer run. And it looks like your leaders, they're going to stretch these tyres as much as possible so they can have the option of the softest compound in the final stint of the race. Let's find some action on track, and here we go. Mr. Rem looking for P6. Venom, who's had a fantastic race in the early stages, now having a bit of a recovery drive. He's got his hands full with a horse. Right on board with Mr. M in his pursuit of Venom. He's going to get DRS any moment now. That's just going to suck him into the car in front of him like a vacuum. But unfortunately, at the start of that DRS zone, he was a little too far behind. Now he's going to get a second dose of the DRS. Still too far behind to do anything about it. But just so long as he stays within that second, the DRS is going to make it a lot easier for him to stay in contention. Once that DRS 1 second mark breaks, it's so much more difficult to stay with that car. P1, P2, remember they decided to stay out on the medium compound. Andre leads from Afro, the gap is 1.1 seconds. What's crucial to him now is to keep it at the 1 second mark as they go over the DRS activation point. And I think he's going to get DRS this time around. Let's have a look. I think he just missed out on it. Ah, he did have DRS. Now he's going to get a second dose, and he gets a 3-second penalty as well. Doesn't want to miss out on being on that penalty lineup. Remember, on the last lap he got close enough to get DRS. He got a second dose, but now 0.3 of a second. If he gets DRS with just 0.3 of a second, it's going to be good enough to make the pass for the lead. Is he going to wait for the straight? No, he's not. He's going to go around the outside of the McLaren. And I wonder if the McLaren just made that easy because he knew he's coming into the pits at the end of this lap. Afro, he'll be thinking about the race victory. If you know anything about this driver, that's the only way he thinks. I believe Afro follows the words of Ricky Bobby. If you're not first, you're lost. Although that term doesn't sound right when I say it, you got to say it with that Texan accent. Top Gun sets the fastest lap of the race. It's a 1:20.7. This is the driver that responded first, went in first, put on a set of hards. It's now in the lead of the race, followed by Fricky. That gap 3.2 seconds. And then P3 and P4. Those are the first two cars on opposing strategies. Remember, they did the opposite. The two drivers in front, they will be feeling the pain towards the end of the race when those tyres are starting to get stretched. Those drivers will feel the pain at the end of the race. As for Afro and Andre, they took the pain in the middle of the race, stayed out on mediums, stretched them as much as they could. Probably wasn't the best tyre to be on at that stage, but stayed with their strategy, and now they should have all the advantage in the final stint of the race. No need to manage those tyres, and just throw everything at it. And if you're able to put some consecutively fast laps together, Afro and Andre could still come back into this race. The Haas drivers have been running line astern, P5, P6. Earlier on they were P7, P8. It's great for Ultra Gamer to know he's got his teammate behind him. Teammate's always going to be a little bit more sensible when attacking you, as well as protecting you from all the cars behind. Very nice driving there from Mr. M. Looked like the Mercedes was going to get him on the inside, but defended. But now he could have. Oh wow, I almost thought that was going to be a double overtake. It is a double overtake. Mr. M loses two positions in just one corner. Pantry, Star and Virus. One on the inside, one on the outside, and somehow they made it work. And Mr. M will not be too impressed with that, and then he'll look in his mirrors and see another Aston Martin and think to himself, what just happened? Ulrich leads the way, but he'll be starting to feel the nerves, because when he looks in the mirrors, there's no longer a Mercedes there, there's a Red Bull there. And like I said earlier, just the one Red Bull on track, he's going to know exactly who it is. It's the fastest man on circuit. We are now on lap 22 of 29. A lot of penalties on your screen. In fact, you got to say congratulations to the drivers who don't have penalties. Drivers without penalties so far: Virus, Pantry Star, Mr. Rem, Top Gun, Chums, and Atmagozi. At the front of the race, Ulrich. It's not going to be much he can do. He had to throw the dice. He chose the hards. I can think of another finale where the driver in front in the closing stages of the race had a set of hards and was desperately trying to defend from a Red Bull on his gearbox on a set of softs. I wonder what finale that was. If you're in the comment section, let me know. What do you think? Which finale do you think I'm speaking of? Here we go. As easy as can be. Afro makes it look easy. Takes the lead of this race. Now remember all the aspects that went into him actually getting here. Started at the back of the field. Worked his way up into P11. And then while battling to get into the top 10, there was quite a mess at the back of the field. He was involved in that mess. He then had to rebuild, make a few more passes, get himself back into the top 10, do it all over again. And somehow, even from my commentary seat, I don't know how he did it. Somehow, he leads the race. Dixie Killer picks up another 3 seconds. As for your penalty screen, the most penalties goes to Dixie Killer. He's sitting on 15 seconds. This is Atmagozi. Currently running P14. Remember, just one retirement in your finale, and that happened on lap 1. Harsh Cartoon picks up another penalty. It seems like it's the same drivers picking up penalties over and over. Drivers here in the midfield with no penalties. I think it just starts to play on your mind, really. When you're staying within the white lines, you don't even think about the white lines. But when you're constantly going over the white lines, constantly seeing those warnings, and you know a penalty could be around the very next corner, it's just constantly on your mind, and you're not focused on all the things you should be focused on. You're focused on the white lines. And then the mistakes creep in even more, and it seems like those warnings begin to accelerate. And the penalties just continue to pile on, and sometimes they can determine the order of a race. Let's have a look again at those penalties and just see how they would affect our leaderboard. Everyone there at the front has penalties, but it shouldn't affect the race too much, as everyone in the top 4 has a 3-second penalty, cancelling it out. Then Ultra Gamer has a 6-second penalty that could potentially push him all the way down into P9 from P5. And then Dixie Killer with a 15-second penalty, and Harsh Cartoon working his way up to 9. So lots of penalties on your screen. Three laps to go. Afro leads the way. Ulrich P2. He's had a fantastic race himself. Led for a large majority in this race. Another 3-second time penalty comes up on our screens. I think that one was for Venom. Venom up to 9 seconds. I'm sure he will be feeling quite frustrated. He was very competitive in the opening stages. Even looked like one of the favourites for victory. And then Ulrich in P2 with his strategy, there wasn't too much he could have done. Did everything right, really. Red Bull just had superior pace at the end, superior compound of tyre, and we all know who was driving it. McLaren driver also deserves a word. What a drive he's had today. Opening stages of the race, he was part of that very, very close top 5. Stayed consistent. When Venom made an error and went to the back of the field, when Pantry Star made an error and went to the back of the field, Andre kept his focus, didn't get involved in the incident, and he's been in the top 3 throughout this race. He's got a 3.1 second gap to Ulrich. And everyone in the top 4 there has equal penalties. So hopefully that podium is not decided by any penalties. 2 Aston Martins, P6, P7. We have a ghosting car. Who is that? We have a ghosting car on track. Just trying to make out who it is. That is the AlphaTauri of Apmagosi. We didn't notice it a few moments ago, but he is definitely ghosting. Some of the field now just making their way through that lapped car. We have 2 laps to go. The gap at the front is just under 9 seconds. Ulrich is in P2 on a set of hards. He's being chased down by Andre on a set of softs, but I think he's just going to run out of tarmac. 2.5 seconds with 2 laps to go. Almost feel like the Alfa Romeo would have to make a serious misjudgment, a serious mistake. Ultra Gamer, he has a 6-second penalty, so he will lose P5, P6, P7, P8 and P9. So if things were to remain the same, he would actually slot into P9, promote his teammate up to P8. That just really hurts at the end. You've done all the work on track to finish in that position, to get pushed back down the field. It really hurts. Your leader is on the final lap. Two Aston Martins finishing their season together in P6 and P7. Hopefully we don't get any contact from the teammates in the closing stages of your season. And as we enter into Sector 3 for the final time with your leader, let's just follow him for the final few corners of round 5 of SKR. And there you have it, around the final corner, your Season 5 Championship winner, your Season 5 Finale winner, pretty much everything winner. Afro goes over the line. Ulrich's going to go over the line in P2. What a fantastic job he did tonight. McLaren not far behind. Top 3, Afro, Ulrich, Andre, now Fricky over the line. Ultra Gamer, I fear he's going to lose a few positions. Let's see what he's able to come up with now. There we go. He does fall into P9, promoting his teammate up into P8. Venom over the line, almost losing it into the pit wall. Guys just having some fun in the final meters. Dixie Killer looking to just get to the end. Have a caution. Looks like Venom didn't make it to the end of the race. He's DNF'd. Dixie Killer will go over the line. Hits the wall for good measure. That wheel's not coming off. Harsh Cartoon over the line. And folks, there we have it. Season 5. SKR. We are done. Confirmation of your driver of the day. Afro. And there we go. He's fallen so many times at every single podium session. I'm surprised he hasn't broken a hip. Your official results now. Afro takes the final victory of the final race of the season for 2023. Ulrich P2, Andre P3, then Fricky P4, Top Gun 5th, Pantry Star 6th, Virus 7, Mr. M 8, Ultra Gamer P9 losing out due to those penalties, Chums P10, and then just outside the top 10 we've got Harsh Cartoon and Dixie Killer P11 and P12. Then your 3 retirements, Venom, Disguise, and of course Atmagozi ghosting at the end. I want to thank everybody in the comment section, all the viewers that have come back week after week. And I want to thank all the drivers, because I've been witness to some fantastic driving this season, some of the fastest driving, some of the cleanest driving. One of the best championships I've been a part of. So thank you to all the drivers, thank you to all the viewers, thank you to our sponsors, and thank you to all the admin at SKR. Thank you for having me on this season. Maybe I'll be back for season 6. We'll see if I get the invite. But for now, thank you everybody, and I'll see you next time.